Hello,
Welcome to Kitchen Table Conversations. I'm Chessie,
I'm Andre.
and we're here with Multicultural Family Hub. And today is the first day of school.
Woo!
Ba 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 ba. This is a long time coming for us, and just a unique situation. You were saying this morning it's the first time that you have ever dropped kids off and then walked away.
Yeah, and for clarification, it's the first day of school for our kids. But
True.
it's actually the first day of school that I have not been working at the school at a school on the first day of school. So I've actually, as a father of three kids, I've actually never dropped my children off for first day of school and left. So today, I dropped our oldest in his fifth grade class, and then we dropped the two twins in their just separate third grade class. So for
Oh,
me to walk in and and not give them a hug and a kiss and say I love you, even though I did say that, but I told the boys they requested I don't give them a kiss and a hug
yeah.
in front of
Last
everyone.
night at dinner, we had a whole conversation how do you want this to
How do you
go
want me to
tomorrow?
say goodbye?
Right. And they were like,
So
it's
it
fine.
ranged from the boys wanting a fist pump and like a no audible I love you to my daughter being like, you can do all the things you want. So anyway, so that's my first school. I mean, that's my first day drop off. I'm leaving. Goodbye experience. And it was beautiful and wonderful. And I'm full of so much gratitude and joy. But it was new. It was new and it was great. It was a great feeling.
Yeah, so for those of you just joining the journey, so we moved from rural Northern California at the beginning of the summer to Savannah, Georgia. And so this is the first time our kids are physically going to school in a couple of years. Previous to that, because of circumstances out of our control that involved a fire, we were homeschooling for a couple years
Trying to figure it
before
out.
that, figuring it out. So this feels really massive. And we all know that back to school, yes, it's kids going back to school, but it's also this massive transition for parents. And I'm not sure how you feel about it, but because it's a lot in the summertime, you're
Mhm.
navigating childcare activities, heat, camps, lack of schedule. So there's I feel like summer, there's just a lot of moving parts. And then as parents, this back to school is I feel
Kind
like
of grounding.
it is kind of grounding, you're kind of getting back into a schedule, and most of us work outside the home, so you're going to work, right?
Yeah.
And so being able to drop your kids and getting back into this routine. And we're talking about in our community, our multicultural family hub community, our theme this month is transition.
Yes.
And I feel like back to school for parents is
Mm,
one of the most
yeah.
major inflection points.
It's kind of like a book ends the beginning of almost like your parent year, and then obviously when school ends is like another bookend. But so there's
Yeah.
like a season that is like this kind of dictates so much of what happens in in our lives, in our schedules is school starting and school ending. So it's a big
Yeah.
moment of transition for kids, but also for the adults in their lives. Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday, I'm sure you guys all got this massive, those back to school packets, right? So yesterday I was going through and they sent home a sheet of paper with six QR codes
Mm.
to okay, you need to fill this out, make sure you sign it, get it back to us. And I was full of so much gratitude
Mm.
yesterday reading through the charter school that our kids are going to is really focused on social emotional learning. And so they were talking about they had a school code of conduct
Mhm.
was one of the QR codes that I clicked, and you're supposed to read through it and then sign the thing. So I was reading through it and got a little teary, honestly,
Mm.
thinking at what they were, how they are approaching discipline.
Mm. Yeah.
And so this school has a restorative model, they call a restorative conference, a restorative
Mhm.
classroom. So instead of it being super punitive and you shouldn't do this, you have detention, they have a restorative timeout where it's okay, we need to move our bodies are having big energy, we're having big emotions, we're going to like remove ourselves from the classroom and then kind of like figure out on an intrinsic level what we might need to change. And so working together to say like we're a community and we are all contributing. So as child, like this is what we need to function as a community. Your behavior's over here. Like, how do we change that so we can all continue to function versus don't do that, don't get up, don't. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about like that. Well, I would say culture of school and the intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation.
And when we say school, we're not talking, we don't know your situation, we don't know your
Right.
school, and we're not saying all school. We're just saying using that as like a catch-all
Right.
of it might be different where you are, it might be the same, you might be having the same experience, it might be very different, but just kind of exploring because that is that when it comes to the school year, when you look at it, that is the place that our children are going to spend most of their time Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Is going to be in those settings. So those settings have a massive impact on how our kids develop internal versus external motivation. And so yeah, so that's kind of what we wanted to kind of touch on.
Yeah, I would say growing up in the 80s and 90s, most of the culture of American school, and for a lot of it, right, is like, okay, so the goal is you get a good grade. So you do these things that the adult tells you, and then you are always going for an A. And I grew up in a school culture where it was like that was the highest goal, was like you get good grades and you achieve and you don't get in trouble and you don't do anything wrong. And so just always trying to live up to getting an A, to doing the right thing, to getting the answer that the adult has predetermined for me. And so that is like a perfect example of external motivation, right? I, as a kid, was not like, you know what I want to learn more than anything? Derivatives, right? I want to sit perfectly still in my seat and not raise my hand until asked because like that is exactly what I want to do. But the expectation is the external motivation.
And so, I think piggybacking on that, the other external reason why, if you grew up in the time period we did, why you performed or why you worked hard or why you did something as a student was often so that the adults in those spaces, whether it be teachers, parents, other community members, so that it made them feel good.
Yeah.
Because if I'm doing well, if I have good grades, if I am performing at a certain level, it's validation that they are doing a good job. And so between the performance piece of getting a grade and between making sure all the adults caretaking all the emotions of fully grown adults, that was one, and whether it be school or even like sports or even things outside of it, those two were that was the dominant culture of why you did something. And so that's been, I would say, that's the vast majority of at least people that are schooled in like a Western context, their experience. Now, what's interesting about that is the research shows your external motivators only typically last for the duration of the thing you're trying to achieve. So let's say after you got that A in derivatives,
I did. I
which
did.
you did.
I can calculus it up, folks.
I did not. Math tutor for 4 years, still didn't get it. No joke. In elementary school, never just was like boom, boom, boom. It kept going. But what they found, okay, so then you get to a derivative. What's the net? Because it's external, what does the student or the adult or the person do? I'm done with that. Put it down.
Right.
Done. Throw it. It's I don't need it. Oh, I only did that to get this. And now that I got this, this is no longer part of my life. So the reality is that's actually not learning.
Yeah.
That it doesn't go with me. It's bam, back there. I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to apply it to my future. I'm not going to apply it to my present. I'm not going to use it, incorporate it into my skills and how I need. So that is for a lot of students and adults. That is kind of the culture of learning, or what we call learning, is it's external I do it to get this thing that's outside of me, and once I get that, I put it down. And Chess and I were talking this morning over coffee, and even some of the research shows like specifically in American culture, it's less than like 5% of the US population that reads a book, one whole book for fun, for enjoyment, just because they want to learn something over the course of a year.
Don't worry, Andre makes up for the under 95.
No, but so a lot of people hear that and they go, "Oh my goodness, can you?" And people say, "Oh, that's because we're addicted to TV, da 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 da," or "That's because we are busy on Facebook." And my personal philosophy, I don't think any of that's actually true. I think as you become an adult, as you age into adulthood, the external reward system or the external reasons for why you do something, they become less and less and less. So for example, why would an adult go into a library, a bookstore, and just walk around and grab something that piques their interest, or watch a documentary just to learn something that they have learned about, or go take a class that's not related to your work, that's not related to your job performance, just because you're interested in ballet or because you're interested in moving your body? Why would you do that? Well, your reasons for doing that as an adult are often that's an internal drive. That's an internal thing. So the reason why someone would go get that book and go get that or read a genre of a book they've never read before, it would have to be internal, because external, no one's going to give you an A for going to as an adult going to the library and getting a book on sci-fi that you're just interested in. No one's going to say, "Hey, good job. I noticed you went to the library today. High five. Here's a sticker." All of those things are not there, but that is how the dominant culture trains most people at a very young age. That's your why. So what happens when that why is gone?
So it's like the culture of external motivation.
Mm.
And I think our question is like, how do we cultivate internal motivation? Because there are so many things outside of ourselves. And I feel like I'm a both and, because you were talking about like social media and the reason why our culture like doesn't read the books, right? Um, I am a more distracted human, and I definitely I'm like motivated by social connection. I am like have a busier brain, and so all those like little dopamine rewards. So I do think there's like and I guess it is still external motivation, right? Like all those little dopamine rewards from social media are these like external hits of like people like me, this and this, like you're saying, to pick up the book because you're like, oh wow, I'm like genuinely curious. I'm not saying we're using books as a reference point, but I'm like genuinely curious to go salsa dance. That is like my deep, deep love, and there is no financial incentive to dance. There is no social incentive to dance, I suppose, apart from like meeting lovely people. But that internal motivation, and I think that is something that when you cultivate it, like there is something inside of each of us that the world deeply needs. And I don't think you get to express that beauty, to express all of your creativity and all of your gifts if you continue to chase after the external motivation. I'll give you an example from just this summer. I was feeling really we had this amazing summer, right? So we transitioned from Northern California. We moved our whole family.
We did like what they call your major life transitions. We did them all in one summer.
Yeah.
Move, start a new job, start a new career, start a business, layers and layers.
And I was still still fighting this external factor of like, so we move our whole family across the country. We set up a new home. We are like figuring out jobs and setting up a new business and all the layers that go, getting a new car, right? Like trying to figure out transportation, figure out schooling. We were doing summer camps, trying to get our kids integrated, right? all these different pieces. And the part of the overculture that I have been like looping in my head is like, what do our neighbors think? Do they think that we don't work hard because we're here with our kids all the time? Do I wonder if our neighbors think we're just like independently wealthy and spoiled. I'm having like I'm having all these wild thoughts about what my neighbors are thinking of our transition, right? So that is an example of external motivation, seeking the approval of the people around me versus being like, wow, I am so proud that we followed our hearts and followed our intuition, and we're like, whoa, this is a transition that's good for our family. It's great for me. I'm dancing again. I am cultivating space as an individual human. I'm building skills as a speaker. I am building skills within my community. Andre and I are developing programs to offer in a wellness space in this new community. No, I'm like worried what my neighbors think.
Which is also interesting because give just in our little neighborhood, there are people that physically go to a place for work every day. There's entrepreneurs and there's people that work from home. It's all right here. And even within that, it's like, what's the guy who works from home going to think about me? It's like, so, but that just shows the power of how we've been conditioned to be like, I need somebody to come along and say like,
You're good.
you're good.
Yeah.
You're doing a good job, you know? And so one of the things that we are going to really keep bringing and touching on through this podcast and also through our work with Multicultural Family Hub is that we fundamentally believe that the best way that we can teach, pass down certain skills to our children is to model it. And so with this conversation, if I were asking you, Chess, it's like, so how would a parent listening to this, if maybe it's already embedded within the school, but maybe it's not, or maybe it's partially embedded, but it's not a part of the whole school culture. What is the best way, or how would we model what it means to live a life where you are following and being guided by your internal compass, your internal motivation, versus living a life where you're relying on all the external to decide what you do or don't do? Like how do we model that as parents?
Mm. I like immediately got like a hot flash because I was like, I don't know.
Hey, can I tell a story? Can I tell a story?
Yes,
Okay,
that's not true.
I'm gonna intro the story, but then you finish it because this
Okay.
happened today.
Okay.
So oftentimes we have this really cool ritual before we talk about a podcast. We'll get a coffee and we'll just kind of make sure we tease out what we want to say and how we want to record it. So we go get coffee. We come out of the coffee shop, and as if you live in a city or an urban area, you'll know they have a lot of these like they call them free little book stands. And so what they are, they have a stand. There's typically like a square box with a glass case, and it'll say free books, and you can put books in, you can put books out. I always stop at, I always look at all the books. Chessie was to my right. We walk, and there's a free little book stand, and she stopped. You stopped. You opened it. Now explain to me what happened next. Explain that story.
Uh, I saw a book title. I don't actually remember what it said. It was something Savannah.
Just got it. Yeah.
Right. I love historical fiction. It's the only way I can remember things if it's like attached to a really good story. I love the author Kristen Hanna. She wrote The Nightingale, The Winter's Garden, um, The Four Winds. Ugh, such good books. So I love this author. So I pull out this book. It had Savannah in the title, and I'm like, ooh, the artwork on this looks like it might be historical fiction. So I pull it out, and it was like an endorsement on the front by one of my favorite authors, Kristen Hanna, and I was like, yes. So I immediately took the book and was like flipping through it, and Andre's talking to me, but I'm like kind of not
And I
listening.
was like, oh, she's gone.
I was going.
It's slightly raining and hot, but she's there.
Yeah, I was like, oh, listen to this. Yeah.
So I think this is where we tease out. Okay, we could have. Why did you stop? And then why did you open the case?
Because I saw a book that it intrigued me. I saw it through like the glass in the free tiny library cover.
So then you pick out the book, and the book you're grabbing, it's not for your work. I mean, well, it's not directly tied to like your employment. It at least initially doesn't seem like it's directly tied to the business. Why did you grab it? Like, why did you say, okay, I'm gonna read this?
I grabbed it because I was like, oh, it's about Savannah. I could learn something about the history of Savannah and actually remember it. Um, and it's gonna be a great book because I love stories and yeah, I love it.
When you're reading the back, and mind you, we're on the street, we're on a sidewalk, and if you ever in a Savannah, the sidewalks are like this. There's people kind of like stumbling
If
off.
you're
So
listening,
if you're
he made a
stopping,
wavy
so if you're stopping
motion.
and looking at it, you were like, so you're looking at what was going through your body as you had this random book that's not tied to you're not no one's gonna give you a high five, no stickers, no more money. It's just I have to say what was going through your body when you were like, oh,
It was ooh.
ooh, okay.
And it was like an excitement, like a fluttery chest, like, ooh, this looks fun.
Yeah. So you get the flutters, your body's like, oh, there's something about this. It's not, it's I can't logically tie it to those other things. I'm interested.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna read it. Just because.
just because.
Just because. So when I think, and tell me what you think about this, when our kids actively see us doing that, and it doesn't have to be big things. It doesn't have to be, I'm gonna start a business or I'm gonna change my it could be like that's a very small thing. Free library, open, grab. Ooh, I think when they see us doing that, even if we don't say anything, when they see us over and over and over doing that, is that how they learn? Like, it's okay. It's okay to be motivated by this, that internal.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one way is by like following the joy, even if
Mm-hmm.
it's not like culturally appropriate, right? And
Mm-hmm.
even if, yeah, I think to raise specifically multicultural kids is to follow the joy even when you it's going against what your culture says is appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like one of Andre's examples
Mm-hmm.
is
Uh,
in high school being attracted to the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
oh man.
Loves that band, right? But
Dang.
what did your culture say about it?
Oh, okay. So this is mid 90s outside of Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know. Just to set the scene here, this is when like Southern rap was like, it was becoming huge and global. It had a texture, it had a feel, it had its own language, had its own culture, had its own sound. And now I mean, now it's huge. It's everywhere. But this is like the beginning of that. And so that culture, the dominant culture at that time was like, yo, this is what you listen to. This is what good is.
Specifically,
As
who listens to
yeah,
that?
specifically if you're a person of color, if you're a black kid out outside Atlanta at that time, that was the acceptable music. That's what you played in your car. That's what you played at home. That's what we're all listening to. Now, mind you, great music. It was great music. I mean, it was fun. It was full of a lot of young energy. It was creating this sound that no one ever heard before. So that's good. But but then there's this other sound coming out, at least new to me, across the coast. That was the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Specifically, think Californication, think about like some of those scar tissues, some of those sounds with this guitar and this sound that was very different, even when you think about rock and roll, the rock I had heard, like a Southern rock. This was something that was to me, it was completely out of space. And I loved it. And I loved that sound. And so my external, if I was going through external motivation, my external would have said, no, this is the music this is what's okay. But my internal motivation was like, I like this band. I like this sound. I like what they're talking. I like all of it. Therefore, I'm going to listen to it. So I did. And that sent me, I would say that moment sent me on a journey of art, being like, oh no, there's no ceiling to what I can take in if I'm interested in, whether it be at physical art, like actual art, or music, or dance, or films, or books. Art is free to me. But that was a very critical moment because I think I was about I had my license. So I'm, 15, 16, and you're in the car with your friends. So you know what you can put on. And can I add another element to the story?
Yeah, please.
At the same time, one of a major influences in my life, that most people are familiar with the hip hop group Outkast. Well, Outkast comes out And, Andre 3000, who is a part of Outkast, I will never forget, like, I got this album cover, and the album was called AT Aliens. And I believe on that album cover, it's like in a graphic novel print. And in that album cover, I want to say Andre 3000 is wearing like a turban with like a gem in the middle and like like I think a jersey or something. It was completely out of like, you can dress like that. I mean, this is like, and he's a hip hop Southern Atlanta artist, and he in his freedom. And then next to him is his partner, who is Big Boy, who is, I think originally, I want to say either lived in Savannah, raised in Savannah, then moved to Southwest Atlanta, who held the space for the other culture. And here they are together, both allowing each other to express what is inherently good and beautiful for them and making me. And so it's the first time between the Chili Peppers and between Outkast specific. I'm going to say specifically Andre 3000 to be like, oh, all the dominant culture of why you do something does not know. You can absolutely do it because like no one's making you wear a turban just be that's like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I like this. And his outfits were always changing. Always. And at that time, it was like you wore sports jerseys and you wore Jordans, and he's showing up in, I mean, his concert, he would wear like a furry white jacket with a cow. I mean,
Okay.
just so many cool outfits. But I would say that those were two critical moments where I realized like, oh, they gave me permission to be like, it's okay to follow this wherever that goes. And it doesn't really matter but it's going to allow you to be engaged in something new. But what's more importantly, if it lights you up, you're gonna get really good at it because it lights you up.
I love that word
Yep.
permission. And
Yeah.
I think specifically when raising a multicultural family, giving our kids permission to be their whole selves and to show up as fully this culture and fully that culture.
Yeah.
Not half this, half that. You are not split. You are full. And I think permission to follow your intrinsic motivation
It's huge.
is huge. And our past guest, Dr. Myrna Perez,
Please go listen to that
go
one.
listen to that. It's
Oh man.
so fascinating. I just adore her. So in previous conversations, we were talking about like if you don't kind of give your child context or talk about something, they make meaning on their own, right? So it's like if we don't talk about this culture, that you are both fully, then we make meaning that this is good and this is bad, or I am only this, or I should be more this, or I should be more that, versus being able to be like, does that interest you? Does it light you up? Let's check it out. Right? Those, yeah. So being able to cultivate that following of intrinsic motivation so that they can make sense of themselves.
And I think going back to what we talked about modeling it, I mean, this is very important for me. Jesse has always shared like that quote, your kids are going to
See some of
what
what
we
you
do.
do, but what was it? They're going to hear some of what you say, but see all of what you do.
And that's really, I've taken that to heart as a parent. And so like it is very, very, very critical for me, for my kids to see me doing things and doing it, some things just because I'm interested in it. So sprint training, just because I'm interested and I want to learn how to do it. That's it. I'm not going to become, obviously, I am not going to become an Olympic sprinter. No one's paying me to go run around the park, but it just interests me. And the thing is, it's actually always interested me. And I love it. And I love the movement of it. Same thing with yoga. Same thing with taking a yoga ballet class. Because there's something in it that's like, ooh, I'm interested in how that. Same thing with the books I read or meditations. When they see me, and we don't have to even have conversations about it. Now, what's really interesting, and I'll tie this back to sprint training. It's obviously we're in Georgia, very hot, very humid. You're dripping sweat. You would think that. So I will say, hey, I'm gonna go sprint training, and there's a park next to it, playground. It's like, does anybody come play at the playground while I do this? They'll say yes. And what happened after doing this for a while, I would be doing my warm-ups, which like take 15 minutes, They would be at the playground, running, sliding, doing all of these functional movements. And then they started yelling from the playground. And there's other kids there. They'd be like, are you gonna start your sprint training yet? And I would say, yeah, I'm gonna start actually doing my workout. And they started coming over and running with me. Not be, and I would tell them like, you don't have to do this. They'd be like, oh no, no, we want to do it. And all, so it's me and my daughter and the two boys, and they're doing the reps. They're doing the warm-ups. They're going through it 4 and 4 and 8, and they're doing the breath work. And this is like their thing now. And then they would do the cool down. And all of all of that, I think, came as a result. Instead of saying you should do this, you shouldn't be on your screen, and you should go out and exercise, you should stay in shape. No. It was like, hey kids, I'm gonna go do this thing because it lights me up. You can come or not, but this is I'm gonna go. And them seeing me physically follow that, do that, it send a signal to their nervous system of like, it's okay to go do it just because. And what's interesting, the reason why I'm talking about sprint training or running now is because when you think of little kids, the most natural movement for any kid and anybody that's ever been to a birthday party or spent time at a pool, what's the biggest thing adults have to tell kids? Please stop running. Please stop running. Because running and moving your body in that motion, especially for short bursts of period, is absolutely so natural to the human experience. And so for them, it's like, oh, they're getting to tap into something that's completely normal. There's this space where we can just like run as fast as you can. And tell a kid, hey, run as fast as you can. They're like, oh. And so what my point in that elongated story is that when our kids see us doing these things, even without the words, it sends them the most important message. Just like when I saw that Andre 3000, that Outkast cover in Andre 3000, just like when I heard the Red Hot Chili Peppers redefining what sound is like, it sent the permission of internal motivation can be a guiding compass for you to do the things that are good for you, to do the things that you find joy in, to find your calling. Rarely in my life has the external sent me down the path of finding the thing that lights me up. But at the same time, and when you go back and listen to our conversation with Dr. Perez, she talks about it's like there's that thing, like, why did she spend so many hours in the library reading the things that lit her up since she was a kid? And then when we feel like we need permission, how often we won't do it. If I need permission to sprint train, if I need permission to go to the library, if I need permission to do art, if I need permission to create a business, most of us, as our kids go from kids to teenagers to adults, won't, because who's going to give you that permission?
Yes.
No one to call to say, hey, can I start the business? There's no one. Can I sprint train? There's no one to call.
I think so. With internal motivation, give yourself permission.
Yes.
Give your kids permission. And the next step to me, I want to like bring it back to yoga ballet. Yoga ballet. Was it comfortable the first time when you signed up for that class and when you went there? Was it like, oh, I got this. This is so easy.
No.
What was happening for you? When you were like, ooh, I'm kind of interested in taking a ballet class. Huh.
What? Okay, so you're asking, was it physically easy or was it easy from like a motivation standpoint?
Yeah, for motivation, because we're talking like internal, external, right? Was it easy from an internal motivation to be like, oh, I'm just gonna find this thing and do this thing, and there's no like oppositional voices in my head. I'm just going to go. Was it easy, or was there some feedback for you that was like, ballet, like you're a 40-year-old man of color. What are you doing?
Well, I think so. I think there's two answers to that question. Now, because of the journey and because of the skills I've developed, any voice that pop up, it's just like I have a thing that can knock it down. However, if there was a voice in there that I hit, like it's like those pop-up things, it would have been, why would you go take this yoga ballet class when you don't plan on being a professional dancer? And what are you going to learn? And how does it benefit your business? And that, on and on and on. So if I didn't have that skill for that voice to hit that voice down,
I like your whack-a-mole.
yeah, you wouldn't. Then of course you'd be like, oh, that's cool, but no, I'm not going to do it. Um, and so I guess what I say, it's never, I can't use the word easy, it's a practice. And I think the more we as parents practice this, then the more we will say yes to those things. And the more we say yes to those things, the more our kids are kind of looking at us going, oh, that's interesting. If dad at 40 as a man of color in Georgia has the freedom or has the permission to go do yoga ballet, then I can go, I can also do the things that like right.
It's so
And
interesting.
we have here that my especially I would say especially having two boys, they have to see like and then specifically yoga and then specifically ballet being like, oh, he's absolutely willing to step in to spaces that aren't even seen as traditionally like masculine or masculine space or defined as more energetically feminine mass. And he's like, no, I'm here to learn. And I think that ties into like that beginner's mindset of like showing it's okay, it's okay to be open, it's okay to be interested, it's okay to have beginner's mindset. And so that's how that process goes for me, and it happens with a lot of things.
I think it's interesting that I grew up, again, child of the 80s and 90s, and as like a white woman, there was definitely, I would say, a cultural overtone that was like, you can do anything. You can have it all. Like that was what was said, but then like the parameters were so much like, yeah, you can have it all, but you have to do it like this.
And this is what good.
And this is what good is. And so it's like, okay, you can do it all, but it has to look exactly like this. So good luck. And I think in some ways that's true freedom to have like that internal motivation to say like, oh, I do have the freedom to explore this. And it might look different, right? It's a beautiful journey. And Andre, I would say, is further along on that journey with whacking those thoughts down. I definitely, when trying something new that is just for intrinsic interest, have a whole lot more head chatter. And one of our previous coaches used the term the river of wrath. That like when you are doing something new, there are so many thoughts that are going to come up that you kind of have to swim through no matter what. And like I said, you're further along on your journey and really skilled at navigating those rapids.
But they're still there and they will always be there.
Right.
Yeah. It's just how loud they are at this time in my life.
I feel like I still have to swim pretty hard through the new stuff. And every time I am driving to a new location to go salsa dancing by myself, I feel that like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not as good of a dancer as other people. My technique isn't great. What if nobody dances with me? I'm a 40-year-old mom. Like all of these voices that are keeping me from this like beautiful expression of joy and movement. And I know after I go and move my body and just like fully feel free and express myself and dance, I know I am coming back as a better human, mother, partner, with like ideas that gain clarity. But I still have to, every single time I go, wade through all of those thoughts. Even like last night, I went to a dance event and was like battling my mind the whole time, because there was lots of not good enoughs. No one's asking me to dance because I'm like fill in the blank. And I had to stop them every time and tell myself, I'm a beautiful dancer. I am worthy of dancing with people. I am here to learn and express joy through movement. And I had to keep going back to that, even in this thing that I'm intrinsically motivated to do because the cultural voices for me are so loud.
Do you think that when you're talking, it made me, when we talk about the voices that we as parents keep us from engaging in the things that intrinsically motivate us and keep us focused on the external motivations, do you think those voices, that those limiting beliefs, that they don't just stay in our head? Do we, when we let those be the thing that guide our decisions, do we energetically, do we pass that same limiting voice down the line?
100%.
So if we can't, so if we can pass the limiting ones, if we can pass the ones that are in self-doubt and scarcity down, then when we as parents tap into that internal motivation and work through those natural limiting beliefs that pop up, and we face them, and we don't let them stop us, and we create a new belief by engaging in that intrinsic action, do we then pass down those empowering beliefs? Just by our behavior, just by our actions. Like, if they can take the negative through our actions, can they also inherit the I am good enough, I am strong, I am beautiful, I can create an art, I can do, you know what I mean? Do you think it happens?
Oh,
without words,
so
without
I am so fascinated. I love Beyonce and her daughter Blue. And what was that?
That was my humming Texas Hold'em. Sorry.
Okay, it's fine.
What was that sound? Oh, that was the refrigerator going out.
But thinking, so I can't remember if it was Tracy Ellis Ross, it might have been. So her mom's Diana Ross. And when you look at children who grew up with famous parents and the amount of times that they are also able to step into the spotlight, it's because like your parents were just superstars, and that's like, they're your parents and that's just who they were. So like, obviously you could do that too because the path has been set for you. Right? Where it's like, and I'm not saying there isn't massive amounts of like doubt and judgment and all these different pieces that you still have to work through. But your example as a parent where it's just like, oh, that's just my boring mom, Diana Ross, right? And I think about Beyonce and Blue, like I'm so fascinated to watch Blue's journey because like she grew up dancing on stage and watching her mom dance on stage, and that's just like part of her family culture, right? And so it's not like you're saying on that limiting belief situation, but you watch again children of superstars, and they're watching their parents doing things that so many people are like, oh, I could never, and they're like, that's just my mom.
Well, yeah, and that's obviously at a big micro level, but then you could bring that down. I remember having a conversation with someone we know in the real estate world, and I remember asking her, I said, who did not have a background in real estate or home renovation or flipping houses. I said, how did you, and came to this like later in life. I said, what was your entryway into this? And she said, oh, she gave me her background, had nothing to do with this. And she said, but my parents, when we were younger, bought houses, remodeled, sold them. So she was like, my whole childhood, I was around it. So I literally woke up one day and was like, I want to do something different. I could do that. I mean, like that was the conversation in her head, but she had been passed down the mindset and the powerful thoughts of, when it comes to this creative act, when it comes to this business,
Got this.
I got this. So I think we are all, how to say, is as unfortunately as parents, we're always in the process of sharing a belief with our kids.
Yeah.
We are. I don't think there's ever like a pause button to that. I think the question is, what are the beliefs we are sharing? And how do we do it? And yes, we can do it with our words. And, kids, at least our kids, they might listen for about 30 seconds. And then, that goes.
Or less.
Or we can do it by showing them, I am going to do the thing that I feel is empowering, that I feel is intrinsic, that I feel is motivational, that brings me joy, so that you can see that you already have permission. You already have the permission. And that doing this is not necessarily attached to an external outcome. It might not be attached to making money. It might not be attached to anything. No one else may even know about it. No one else may even know that it is. This one is for right here.
And
that is, to me, that is the seed of lifelong learning. That is like, in schools and things, we say we want people to be lifelong learners. You can't, lifelong learners are not externally motivated. They have that thing.
Say that again.
Lifelong learners are not externally motivated. They have that thing that they're like, I can't not look at that. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that yoga ballet is. I don't know what that sound is. I don't know what that experience is, but I'm going to go one step towards that and another step.
And I think that creates true fulfillment. Like we know, like if you are externally motivated by the money, by the fame, by the power, by the prestige, like once you get that thing, if you weren't intrinsically motivated to get to that spot, it's never enough. And so following the intrinsic motivation really gets us and our kids to a place where it's like we are whole, we are enough, we are following all the pieces. And so much of, again, what we are looking at with a multicultural mindset is like bringing all of it, following the things that do intrinsically motivate you.
Yeah, and when we're doing it as parents, it also creates the family culture that says we're gonna honor each of our individual motivations and each of the things that light us up individually. It might be similar, but it also might be totally different.
Yeah.
The things that light my sons up or my daughter up might be completely different than something that lights me up. But it doesn't, but for me, my job in that is to stay curious about it and to help facilitate their opportunity and their ability to take a step towards it.
And you never know where it's going.
Yeah, you never know.
I feel like as parents, we have such like a this like linear mindset, like, oh, if my child, oh my gosh, I'm gonna tell a story.
Yeah.
Because this has been hard for me. So my linear mindset. So one of our kids is like obsessed with history, specifically World War II, and he loves to draw World War II battle scenes. I shouldn't just say World War II. They have created an entire universe
of
different countries, but they all have their like own armies and uniforms and cultures
and some coconuts.
The coconut ones might be my favorite.
So this spans just our galaxy. This isn't different things.
But so super into this, and he has drawn so many battle scenes, and my anxious mother heart that is like taking this like thread and like spinning it super far down the road is like, oh, he's super into like war and battles, and like what if he ends up joining the army and going off to war and dies? This is me, right? This is like where it spins out to. Versus me being like, wait, one layer deeper. He loves creating worlds. He loves creating uniforms and genres and whole cities and cultures. Stories. And so I have no idea where any of this is going to go. But instead of me putting my fear on and be like, don't draw tanks, don't draw army scenes, that's too violent, that's too intense. If people see that, they're going to think that our family is like this and that reflects poorly on me. And like, because of all of my thoughts and self-judgments and trying to keep me within the like, keeping the external happy versus being like, wow, that's really fascinating. Tell me more about this. What battle was that? Whoa, your perspective on this drawing is wild. The way you were able to draw the depth. Tell me about the detail in that building. Why does his helmet have a spike?
That's where we got hamburgers from? He's explaining hamburger in Germany.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah.
That's the only thing I've learned.
We've learned a lot of history. So I was I'm gonna try and spool it back. But just as parents, we make our kids at this point mean that it's gonna go this direction rather than just like staying where it's at and seeing where it goes and not spooling it really far down the line. And I'm really good at that and am trying to be better at reeling it in and being like, it doesn't mean anything. Yeah, if it lights you up, let's do it. If it lights you up and is safe, let's do it. Because there are, right, if my child loves boulder jumping, which I assume one of them does.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that's probably not a good example.
We're talking about like physical, like,
We love jumping over moving cars in the street. Okay, we're not gonna do that.
Parameters of safety,
Yeah.
right? So,
But yeah. And so kind of takeaway that we hope you guys have, especially as you're going into back to school, is really keeping that at the forefront. All of us, all those parents, let's model what intrinsic motivation looks like, what it feels like, because in doing that, that's the skill that goes beyond our children's time in any school.
Yeah.
That's the one you're going to need. Because I can tell you this as someone that's worked education, I can tell you from my own life, whatever the thing is they're learning right now, in 10 years, in 20 years, it's gonna require a new skill.
Yeah.
It's gonna look different. It's gonna be a completely different market. It's just gonna be different. And without the ability to internally go, okay, what now? That's where people get stuck. That's where they go, I don't know the whole thing. What I learned here it doesn't help me here. Versus, no, what I learned here is, wait a minute, what's inside? What am I curious about? Wow, I'm gonna go check that out and follow that. And at that point, no matter what happens with markets and jobs and you will be a part of our children will be able to continue in that process because life is always in transitions. Always.
Truth bombs.
So that's it. And I do plan on being an Olympic sprinter.
If you on Instagram ever watch our sprinting videos, I don't know if we're going to the Olympics.
Not going to the Olympics.
Specifically this one. So I also wanted so sweaty. I wanted to remind you guys that Multicultural Family Hub community is open. We have opted to make it super accessible to everyone. It is just $20 a month for this incredible community of interaction, coaching, getting to meet other like-minded individuals that are creating a multicultural family framework. And we are doing coaching. We have Monday motivations, Wisdom Wednesdays, and a Friday share where I'm sharing recipes and songs and culture. And it is just this amazing place to connect, gain tools to create the lives that we want to with our families. So come join us there. You can go to multiculturalfamilyhub.com/community.
And this month's theme in that community is transition. So we're going to be kind of talking about and exploring and sharing things that have to do with transitions. And it's a great time. Transitions back to school, also transition seasons, ending of summer, coming the fall. So please, we'd love for you to come transition with us.
Yay!
All right.
We'll see you next week. Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Bye.